BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out my 2023 BTB Project year-end episodes. It is so awesome that you guys have been with me on this journey. I've picked out some memorable moments from this year that whether you've listened to the podcast or you're brand new to it, this is a great summary of conversations that I was able to have that really sparked an opportunity for me to understand the importance of storytelling, the importance of putting these stories out there, because it helps people like you and I to reflect, to grow, to adapt and adjust, to improve our lives. And going into 2024, I know that this year in summary will be something that will impact you. I'm excited for you to check it out. These are individuals, stories, circumstances that are deep and meaningful in my life, and I look forward to how it's going to impact you as a listener.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby.
Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Kollman Gearhart. A former athlete and motivational coach, I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
In this BTB episode, I got to sit down with former Stanford head men's tennis coach, Dick Gould. He's a 17-time national champion as a coach and is deemed as one of the most successful NCAA coaches in history. We were able to have a really candid conversation about what makes him tick, the opportunities that he created as a coach, his passions, and how he wanted to pay it forward. Check it out.
No, try this or do this or whatever. And so I had to learn a little bit of tact, a little bit of approach, and different people take different approaches. But I really grew a lot in that job. And then my coach retired at Stanford. The one who encouraged me to combine a club job where I could make some money with a teaching job where I had the benefits and so on of a full-time teacher.
Right.
Which was my mode of operation. And it turned out to be a great combination. So when I went to Foothill, my first question was, will you make me a full-time coach, not half-time like my predecessor?
Yep.
At the same salary I'm making at Foothill? And he said, yes. And I said, plus, if I'm going to stop at the club, I need to use the courts at Stanford to teach. Will you let me do that? He said, yes. So I was in heaven.
And listen, going to 1966 when you were hired at Stanford, I know that you were really just in the right place at the right time, and they were looking for someone, and you might have not checked all the boxes, but you just happened to be there and you got hired. But I'm just curious, if you were not hired at Stanford, would you have stayed at a JUCO and had
Yes.
a coaching career for years at that level?
It's a great area. I was at a great club, and I love the junior college coaching. We did a lot of great things there. We started a really strong tennis patrons organization to support the area youths, including those of college age who are non-self-supporting, which meant my junior college kids. We had exhibitions there to stimulate interest in the area. We had Dennis Ralston, Chuck McKinley when they were number one in the world. We had Ponce Gonzalez, Ponce Segura, Rod Laver, all was playing on wood. And so 3,000 people. So that was pretty new in that era. And of course, I had to hang in there and play doubles with Segura against Laver, against Gonzalez, and then another local pro. So we did a lot of good things there. And I think that and the fact the manager of Fremont Hills Country Club was a former fraternity brother, albeit a few years earlier, and a great pitcher at Stanford in baseball. He was close to the athletic director then. I think he put a good word or more for me for the Stanford job, and that was a big thing to help me get the job there. But then my point was that in the meantime, by starting in the high school in the area, and then in the junior college, the same area, I had a little bit, at least a local reputation, which was a good one, frankly. And So that really helped me a lot. But to answer your question directly, if I had not been out for Stanford, the job at Stanford, I'd still be at Foothill. Ironically, when I left Foothill to go to Stanford, my best friend from high school, my doubles partner all through junior high school and high school, the guy who with me started tennis in junior high school in a 7th grade PE class, beginning PE class, although I'd had a couple of private lessons on him from the summer. He had got a teaching cadet. He played at Wyoming on a scholarship
Okay.
to Washington State, got his master's degree, and he was coaching tennis, teaching high school in Costa Mesa, and coaching basketball down there. And he loved it. Orange County, beautiful area. And I said, why don't you just come up and look at this job? He said, no, I love it. I don't want another job. I'm going to stay here forever. I talked him into coming up, and he was offered the job on the spot and thought about it and took it.
Okay.
So became business partners and some other stuff we did. And it was nice he's still my best friend to this day.
That's awesome.
But I must say, they and my kids deserve a lot because they've been through a lot. And
Yeah.
it's one of the big things you have to face in any job. And my job has always been my hobby. You can't be the best coach in the world. You can't be the best. When people say be the best you can be, I qualify that, always say, be the best you can be commensurate with the amount of time you want to put into it.
Yes.
You can't be, if I were the best parent I could be, and the best parent I could be, and the best father I could be, I wouldn't have a job. If I were the best I could be in my job, even, I wouldn't come home to family at night.
Right.
So you can't be the best you can be. You can be the best you can be commensurate with the time you put into it. Hopefully you balance it a little bit, but it's hard for me when my living was dependent upon how hard I worked, because I never was paid very much or that much by Stanford, or nor at the club or high school teaching I did. That was a part of it. And the other part of it was I was driven that way. The other part of it, I really loved what I was doing. And when you innovate, rather than just open a can of balls and tell someone to step into it forehand or turn or whatever, that takes a lot of time to germinate the idea and then to design it and address it and bring it to fruition. But I always really enjoyed doing that. And it really was a great hobby for me. I've been very blessed, Kollman.
Coach Gould, it's been a tremendous honor to spend some time with you today. I've taken a tremendous amount of knowledge away from our conversation, and I know the listeners have too. Thank you so much for joining the BTB Project, and continue to inspire and encourage, motivate and support the way that you have, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you, Kollman, and keep up the great work. I loved your interview with Jeff Salzenstein. You couldn't have picked a better subject, and just a great man. And that's the kind of person that I've really enjoyed working with at Stanford.
Excellent. I appreciate you, Coach. It's a tremendous pleasure to, again, reconnect with people that have been a huge impact in my life. And Colorado tennis is a small community, as I've said in previous episodes. And this next gentleman is someone that not only, arguably, in my opinion, was one of the best Colorado junior tennis players, but took the time and a chance on me to spend some time on the court and develop and train, and I'm forever grateful. But Mr. Paul Koenke, welcome to the BTB Project.
Thanks, Kollman. Pleasure to reconnect with you and to be on this podcast with so many amazing people and players.
Absolutely. And I know that this journey, even though I'm still here in Colorado, I know that you're back east in Georgia, and I'd love to start just a little bit with thinking more about your college background. I think it's just amazing, as you mentioned, there's been a lot of folks on the podcast that have been able to somehow, some way get their game ready to compete at the highest level, Division I. And I've been very fortunate to do that myself. I had my moment of redemption when I felt like everything was taken away from me in a moment, and then it was all given back to me in a full circle, extraordinary, awesome moment. My dad was there, my teammates were there, and we all got to celebrate. And I share that because we knew each other growing up playing Colorado tennis. I never qualified for the state tennis tournament. I never won a regional match, but I lost 100 pounds. I walked on, I played D1, and I had that moment of redemption. I have no regrets with the game of tennis. Everything that I was able to do as a player is like a wet rag. Like, I wrung out the rag everything that I ever wanted to do, I did, and I'm grateful for it. And as an opportunity as a coach now, I've been able to give back and tap into other kids' experiences and wants and desires to be the coach that I never had, to be the mentor that I never had to help encourage them.
Mhm.
So knowing that context, man, I know you're getting back into tennis. You've been coaching now for quite a long time. You have some moments where you're like, I could have handled that better. I could have been better. I could have represented my family better. Nonetheless, it's all water under the bridge. It's in the past. Sounds like you've learned a lot from it. But what I would love to know is if you had an opportunity, knowing what you know now as a coach, to go back to that 15, 16-year-old Paul Koenke, moment in life. At this point, you might be just coming out of the academy stuff, coming back to Denver. You land back in Denver that winter before your last year in high school, and you had a chance to sit down with that guy. What would you say to him, and how would you encourage him, knowing what you know now?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And unfortunately, looking back, there's a lot of I have quite a few regrets that we've touched on. Ways I wish I could have done things better. But like I mentioned earlier, the first thing I would tell myself is to just be quiet more and listen and not be just looking to say something back and try to learn. And you don't have everything figured out as much as you think you do. Like you think so clearly how the way the world works and how everything works, and you just don't know. But you just know as a kid that age some more than others. You just can't tell them that then. And the most important thing I would just say, put the work in every day that you could be proud of and make sure you're doing something that you love to do and follow your dreams and follow your passion, whatever that is. And don't necessarily always make the logical choice and pursue what you want to pursue and tackle that with everything you got and learn a lot along the way and know when to shut your mouth and, and know when to play your role and get to where you want to go.
Paul, I appreciate the humility, the transparency, and the vulnerability. I have learned recently as a husband and a father that our vulnerability as men is to share emotion, to stop being the tough guy. Life is life. And I think this reflection that you've had is not only going to help the listeners, it's going to help those little tiny tots that you're working with at Savannah Yacht Club, and your ability to go back and have that redemptive moment on the court and men's 35s. And I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what those results bring. And more importantly, you're a tremendous person, a good friend, and I'm proud of you. What a tremendous honor to welcome another Colorado tennis legend, Mr. Richard Johnson. Welcome to the BTB Project.
It's great to be here, Cole. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And tennis is a small world, and a lot of the situations that you and I have been in have been far more indirect than they have been direct. And I think it's really neat sometimes to reflect back on what some of those indirect moments have meant to folks like myself. It makes me think just recently, a couple weeks ago, I'm standing on top of this pretty nice hill in a pretty nice place in the middle of California with my son, who was just running a track meet in Arcadia, California, and he's getting ready for the college recruiting environment and wanted to take a look at a school called Pepperdine. Even crazier is years before that, in 2006, I'm sitting with my dad in Palo Alto watching you serve out a doubles point to eventually have your team win a national championship. We'll talk about the connecting of the dots throughout the conversation, but Richard, I would love for you to start with what that moment meant to you being a national champion.
Yeah, good questions. It really meant a lot for our team in general. It was a building process of 3-4 years. That was my junior year, but we had 4 killer seniors that year. And they had struggled. They'd made it to the round of 16, the quarters the year before. I don't know, gone up against the usual suspects, UCLA, USC, bowed out in the earlier rounds. And that was the one year, that was our year to win. We had Pedro Rico, amazing Spanish player, Scott Jordan, great Australian, Ivor Lovrak, this Croatian, who almost never lost a match, like really almost never lost a match. And that was our chance to do it. Pepperdine had never won a national championship before. They made a lot of Simbies. They made a couple finals. That was the year we believed, that our coach helped us believe. He was an intense guy out of Steinberg. He's now at Michigan. Yeah, it all came together, and there really was a lot of belief. And I think that was important because you're going against Georgia with John Isner, and they're the number 1 seed. And everybody said this David and Goliath story, and it really was, because Georgia had won so many championships. It was a combination of trusting in the process and believing that got us in there, and a lot of vindication of our efforts.
Yeah, I want to reflect back real quick on your coach allowing you guys to believe. I've had a lot of great coaches and mentors in my life, and I've had some really good coaches on the podcast, one with Dick Gould and the 17-time national champion. And one thing that I took away, Richard, was that he wasn't talking much about forehands and backhands with his players. He was developing relationships with them, knowing what's going on in their personal life, what's going on at school, and really being there well above tennis. And I'm just curious, can you maybe speak to the relationship you had with your coach and how special it was for you to be part of a team that not only brought a school national championship, but represented your coach at the same time?
Yeah, so our coach was a very good college coach. So he's not a technical coach, but you're right about the belief. He was definitely not forehands and backhands. And I think some college coaches are more about that. Like Fred Tiley, who's now in charge of tennis in Australia, was developing players and pro players. And you got Kevin Anderson and Ryan Rowe, and then a lot of pro players. We didn't have that, and that wasn't our focus. It was like, we're going to maximize this team, this group of players here. And you're right. Like, it's not about forehands and backhands. You're getting good players. There's not a lot you can do in a 6-month or 4-month college season. So you're trying to make sure they're fit and strong and playing with a ton of energy. And he had us do that. And I think because, you've got this doubles point, which often decides the matches. That Pepperdine was 36-2, and the 2 times we lost the doubles point. And a double point to make a pro set. And that comes down to energy, a volley here and there, a poach here and there, going a little extra on the seconds, going down the line on a return. That's it. It's over. And you have this really tough to surmount 1-point lead. So he definitely got us out there with a ton of energy and playing as a team.
It's awesome how the conversation started with belief and it ends with belief today, Richard. I cannot thank you enough for your time today and joining me on the BTB project.
Yeah, thank you, Kollman. And if there's anybody, any of your listeners are in that situation where they're trying to figure out what to do next, and here in Colorado already, where I'm happy to help. I know you're well connected, and if I can help you or all the people you help at any time, I'd love to.
I appreciate you, Richard. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Kollman.
This next episode that I produced was in honor of my mom, Margaret S. Peggy Gearhart. And her story was one that was really challenging for me to grow up in. But as I look back and reflect, it was actually a moment that was a catalyst to what the BTB project is all about. There's a lot of insights and intel on my relationship with my mom, and I look forward for you guys taking a listen. I'd never know what was best for her. So the following day, the doctors asked, "What would you like to do?" And I told my dad and my brother, "Guys, mom wants to go home. She doesn't want something to keep her alive. She wants to be at peace." So the following day, the medical staff removed the life support. And at that point, she was only on one medical drip, morphine, to help her with pain. They removed her breathing tube and all the things that were helping her from the trauma that she experienced that day at United Training Facility. Here's the redemptive piece. As I mentioned, at the time I was in college. So after we pulled life support, I told my dad and brother that I would go back up to school and that I would continue trying to move forward. At that time, it was right around semester finals, and I needed to be back up there to study. And I told them, whenever you get any new information, let me know. And as I was driving back to school, I got a call. And that call was from my godmother, which happened to be my mom's best friend. And she asked me, Kollman, what happened? I heard about your mom. What happened? I want to see her. Will you come with me to see her? And I remember pulling over on the side of the road, and I told her I was heading back up to school, but if you're able to swing down there, I'll meet you there. So there I was back in the ICU, and I had met my godmother there, and we walked back, and my mom was breathing pretty heavy and erratically, as anybody would do in the cognitive and medical state that she was in. And my godmother got to have a great interaction with her, and obviously was very emotional. But I asked her in that moment, hey, do you mind stepping out for a little bit? I wanted a couple minutes with my mom. She said, of course. So I closed the sliding glass door of her room, and I pulled up a chair, and I grabbed my mom's hand, and I sat with her. So explain this to me as you're listening. My mom was clinically brain dead. My mom was without oxygen to the brain for 47 minutes. My mom had, at that point, been alive for 5 days after going to the hospital and breathing on her own. But I knew her time was running out. So I really had a hard time being affectionate with my mom because of the pain that I felt being her son. Hugs and kisses on the cheek and things like that were few and far between. But in that moment, as I was holding her hand, I put my forehead on her forehead. I just told her, I love you, Mom. And I recited Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So the part that I'm asking you as the listeners to explain to me is, at that moment, her eyes opened. She started crying. And my mom mouthed the words, help people. She ever so slightly squeezed my hand. If my godmother did not call me to go see her, I would have never had that moment with my mom. So I go back up to school, and about 12 hours later, I got a call from my brother. And my brother said, Mom has taken off. Destination is heaven. She's going home. My mom's built-to-be journey led to a point of, at her commemorative service, to acknowledge her sobriety. Because remember, my mom was alive for 5 days when she went to that hospital. And then on the 6th day, she passed. But my mom was sober for 6 days. My mom left this earth sober. My mom conquered addiction. Addiction had taken her life, but she had redemption. And I truly believe that's by a power greater than myself. God had other plans for her. And at her commemorative service, there was over 500 United Airlines employees. And after everything was done, we all went outside. And I had gotten 6 balloons. And I released those 6 balloons into the Rocky Mountain air, commemorating her 6 days of sobriety. It's always fun for me on the BTB Project to circle back with people in my life that have been just a tremendous impact, and folks that I was able to grow up with. And it's just a tremendous honor today to have someone that got to go to college up north like I did, but they were in a town called Fort Collins instead of Greeley, and they were doing exceptional things as a football player. And a tremendous honor to bring Grant Stucker to the BTB Project. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I love the setup you got here. This is awesome. Love the in-person feel. Likewise, we knew each other in high school, and I remember great conversations back then, and it's great to finally come full circle here and have a conversation about a lot of it and how all those things have impacted both of us, decisions and everything, and impacts that have happened to us back then, and how that has framed where we are today and the trajectory of where we're going. So, no, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. And the ability to go back to, as we were talking before we hopped on, it's been about 13 years since you took a snap in college, and a lot of time has passed, and I'm a family guy. You're a family guy now. And there's so many things that we experience in today's life that a lot of the things we experienced as athletes growing up have given us some of those foundational things that we've needed to be husbands and fathers in our lives. And I want to go back actually to a funny story of when you were in high school and I actually had just graduated, and I just remember you guys getting to that state championship football game. And I can't quite remember where you guys are playing it, but you can definitely fill the listeners in. But I remember not having too much money at that point in my life, and I couldn't get a ticket. So there I was on the outside of the fence trying to jump to see if I could see some maroon helmets, hopefully going towards the side of the field that allowed them to get a field goal or a touchdown. And I just remember the clock strike 0, and you guys were state champions. Grant, I'd love for you to take us back to what it meant to you to bring Ponderosa High School a state championship.
Oh, man. 20 years ago. It's actually a very coincidental podcast, because this year they're actually, Ponderosa is doing a 20-year reunion for the state championship.
Oh, wow.
On their 40th anniversary of the school. So I want to say it's like August 25th. They're doing like their opening game. They're doing a 40th celebration, and then a tribute to the 20th anniversary of the last state championship that they had. It was at the Stutler Bowl in Cherry Creek.
Yes.
That was before the days where they had it at Mile High and all the things that the kids get to do now. Yeah, Stutler Bowl in Cherry Creek on the old turf. It was like the carpet turf, like AstroTurf. So everybody was wearing like, not cleats. They were wearing like tennis shoes.
Oh, wow.
And we never, like, we went that whole season never playing on like an AstroTurf type field. So it was like everybody had new different shoes. They were wearing their sneakers and stuff. So
was everyone trying to grind down their cleats from Douglas County Stadium to be ready for the Sutler Bowl?
I'm sure everybody had what they were trying to get accomplished there. But yeah, it was that season in its own right was a roller coaster of different things, because the opening game of my senior year, I got hurt and dislocated my SC joint of my collarbone. And I can't remember if it was my right or left, because I did the same thing in college, which I think we'll get to. Missed pretty much half the season of that year, and I was just like, it was supposed to be a huge senior year for me, and it just was detrimental. When I came back, we started just winning games, and we were putting together a great run, and we started playing just our best football right when the playoffs came, and we just felt like we could beat anybody. Just everything was clicking. That's the old wing T option, triple option offense. That was just like, if you're running it right, everybody's doing their responsibilities correct, like that, you just very few people can beat you.
Right.
Playing really well. And then our third game was a semifinal game against Mullen.
Oh, yeah.
And Mullen was unbeaten, top team in the state. And they had some killer players.
Now, was that when Dave Logan was coaching there?
Dave Logan was there.
Yeah.
And we were gearing up for a game plan that was ready for them. About an hour before the game, it was like blue skies, like green turf at Douglas County Stadium. And then a huge snowstorm came in, and it was a blizzard, like a whiteout, could not see the lines in the field for the game.
Jeez.
And so that definitely served better to our game because we were run and gun, very little pass, and we just reverted back to just being true wing tee, no shotgun, no trickery or anything like that. And we just like, it fit our game plan much better than it fit theirs. I remember looking, it was like start of the third quarter. I think we were winning either 7-0 or 14-0. And we were on our sidelines, and there was a bunch of guys that were like huddled around some of the heaters, but nobody had coats. It was like everybody looked like they were in their pads and stuff. And then we looked across the field, and every player had like these really nice, like parka over your shoulder pads, like coats.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're gonna beat these guys. Like we're tougher than they are, you know. And I'm sure that'll rub some people wrong. I actually played against some guys in that game that I ended up playing with at CSU.
Okay,
but
funny.
that was a huge moment for us. And right after that happened, when we won that game, we were like, there's no stopping us. We're gonna go and beat. And so we played Overland in the championship game. And it was a beautiful sunny day. We were playing on that AstroTurf, and we just had a great game plan. I remember the opening drive, we got the ball, and it was like a 15 play, like 8 minutes off the clock, just methodical drive. And we scored that first touchdown. I was like, we've got this. We're just going to play our game. We've got this. But it was emotional. It was like the culmination. Like usually you get to the end, a lot of seasons, no matter what sport you're playing, the last game you lose. That's the only time in my entire career we played the last game and we won. So it's like, what am I supposed to feel like in this moment, knowing that there's no more football to be played, but like we won?
Right.
So it was like an overwhelming feeling for me at the time to know that we did it. Like we as a team came together, won a championship for the first time in the school's history.
This next conversation was with a good friend of mine and former teammate, Manu Santos. She played college tennis with me at Northern Colorado, and she's originally from Brazil. Her story of perseverance, grit, coming from her country, representing her family to accomplish a dream playing college tennis in the U.S. was an amazing conversation for me to have. So go ahead and check out this listen, and definitely one of the more impactful episodes I had in 2023.
You tell me you want to play college tennis, I'm going to do it with you. No matter, I would rather have that player than someone number one in the United States, talented, that doesn't want to work hard.
I know that's your heart, and I know that's what fires you up because you have lived it yourself.
Yeah.
You recently have had, Manu, an unbelievable physical change.
Yes.
I have a deep amount of respect for that because part of my path was losing the weight to do what I did. But I'd love for you to share about accomplishing everything you wanted to do as a player, to having success as a coach and building relationships, to getting to this point where you look at yourself and you're like, you know what? Like, I can find a way to be better.
Right.
Speak to where you're at with that and how you've overcome that today.
Yeah, so after I graduated at UNC in 2009, I could not see. I spent from age 10 to like 22 in the gym, and I always hated it. Put me to play tennis for 10 hours, don't put me in the gym. But as a high-level player, I knew that I needed it.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that was part of playing tennis. Being at my highest level, I need to work out, I need to do conditioning, I need to lift weights, So that was always part of my life growing up, always. So after I graduated, I started coaching, and then that kind of like disappeared out of my life, right? Like working out, and then you're just eating, and then you're busy with coaching, and then you start making bad choices, and then living in America doesn't help with one fast food restaurant on every corner. So start making bad choices after bad choices. And when you look at yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I functioning at this weight? How am I coaching properly? Because I was always like tired.
Yeah.
all the time. I would wake up tired. I would wake up with back pain. I was always on the struggle bus. And it wasn't up till recently, a year and a half ago, that I got COVID. And was super overweight. And that was always like, oh my gosh, like, and I have asthma on top of that. So there's 2 risk factors right there, being overweight and asthma. But thankfully nothing happened. Made it through COVID. But that, when I was in Brazil when I got COVID, and the moment I stepped foot in Brazil and back in the United States, I was like, that's it. I have to find a program that works for me, because I've tried everything that you can think of, every program, every weight loss plan that it's out there. I've tried. And I saw there's a buddy of mine on Facebook that was posting a bunch of these transformational stories. People losing like 100+ pounds. And I'm like, if that person can do it, so can I. I'm a former freaking athlete. My discipline has to help me to do this. So I contacted him. He explained the program. And I was like, okay. And I remember talking to my best friend, Muriel, about this. And she goes, I don't believe you. And if someone tells me I cannot do it, I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you. So she dared me a little bit. And she's like, oh, here you go again with another weight loss plan. Yeah. I support you, but I'm only going to believe it if you get it done. I started the program, and then you start seeing results immediately. And then you get excited, and then you just keep losing and losing. First month, lost 15 pounds. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it's really working. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. And lost 75 pounds in 8 months.
Wow.
And I'm still working on it. It's a daily battle. I feel like it's almost harder to maintain than to lose. You probably know yourself because you had your own transformation story too, pretty inspiring. But it's not easy. My relationship with food has always been hard. Being an athlete, always having to control what I eat, and nutrition-wise, it was always a part of my life. But after I start playing, let that go a little bit. But I was very glad to find a program that worked for me and allow me to lose the weight and maintain. Just health-wise, my health improved so much, sleeping better, coaching better. We have these long hours on the court, and I'm tired at the end of the day, but while I'm coaching it's easy. Super glad that I was able to get that done with a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work and determination, just like I was when I was playing.
Unbelievable transformation that you made. Oftentimes I get an opportunity to be around some of the best coaches, I believe, in the state of Colorado, but also some of the best coaches in the country. And today's guest is somebody that I've been able to come across and really just enjoy not only our time together on the court, but really his mission and his value structure for how he wants to feed into kids, adults, to help with their tennis game. But nonetheless, I'm just really excited today to have Mr. Peter Richmond on the BTB Project. Welcome, man.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I wanted to start off how you got to Colorado, because I know that your entire journey started in another country. And I know that you have some ties to some of the great players here from Colorado, but me being a Colorado native, I'm always curious on how folks end up being here, and not only being here, but being here for quite a period of time. So I'd love for you to walk the listeners through your journey to Colorado.
Well, for sure. Well, first off, Kollman, thanks for having me on. The mission that your BTB project is doing is inspiring. I've already listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I'm excited just to be here to share my story. I'm born and raised in Toronto, Canada. Started playing tennis at a young age. My dad's been my coach, was my coach my whole life. And I started picking up a tennis racket around 6. Fell in love with the game. Been around the game almost every single day of my life. I spent some time at a tennis club. My dad was a tennis coach, right? So he taught me in the morning, right? So I didn't have childcare. I would come over at the club, do a little childcare there, but most of the times I just would watch my dad teach, because if I didn't know where my dad was, I would start crying when I was a kid.
Right.
So I had to be around him. So I got introduced just watching it. And then my brother, I have a brother named Mark, 5 years older, was playing, and I'd be on the sidelines playing with my mom, and she'd be like, hey, like, he's like hitting every ball in. I had like a full-size racket under my armpit and like swinging through it, and just escalated from there, right? And so that journey brought me into competing at a young age and becoming one of the top, if not the top player in the country, which ultimately got me to play college tennis at LSU, and where I met my best friend, Corey Ross.
Yes.
So Corey is my connection to Colorado, right? We're great friends. He graduated the year before I did. I was decided to come out and see him over Christmas break. We played some tennis, did a bunch of stuff, had a good weekend. One night, he was playing some Top Dogs. I think it's called Top Dogs over at Meadow Creek at the time.
That's right. Yep.
He's like, hey, I need you to play. You got these two guys. We got to beat up on Willie Dan and Lou Miller. So I was like, sure, I'll come out. And so Corey and I played doubles that night over there. And there was a guy by the name of Andy Zoden happened to be there. And he's like, hey, you looking for a job? I have an opening at this place called Green Gables Country Club, which is no longer there.
Right.
But I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And I'm graduating. I'm going to have this advertising degree. There's some internship possibilities potentially there. But I was like, I like living here. I had fun. Corey was awesome. His friends were awesome. Like, I could see myself doing that. So I decided to jump on it, and I just took this summer job over at Green Gables. And once I was here, it was just like, it felt like home.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough place to beat. I have never been to Canada myself. I actually have a good friend of mine, to make our conversation full circle, who was a teammate at Northern Colorado named Austin Nunn, who used to be the player manager for Milos Raonic. And he currently is still living in Montreal and sends pictures all the time of just an unbelievable city and country. And nonetheless, too, Corey Ross, ironically enough, his dad, Randy Ross, being the tennis icon that he is in Colorado, was my first actual tennis lesson. And being able to be around Corey and also Corey's brother, it's just amazing how the tennis world continues to find a way to be small, right? And with that said, being able to go back and think about your junior career, you said that you were one of, or if from what I understand, the number one Canadian junior tennis player at the time. What was it like with your training regimen and being able to get your game to that point? Because nonetheless, I know Milos Raonic. I know there's some other Canadians that are making some waves right now on the tour. I'd love for you to speak to just Canadian tennis and what got you to that point of being the number one junior.
Well, I guess I was very lucky in the fact that my dad was a tennis coach, right? As I said earlier, right? And so not only was my dad a tennis coach, but just an incredible father, right? As I've had time to reflect, my mom and my dad, just everything that they did to sacrifice and support this journey that I wanted to be on, right? Getting up, playing tennis 5 days a week at 6 a.m. before school, right? I mean, my mom got up well before us to make sure that I ate well, had breakfast, right? And make sure that I had lunch. Just all the sacrifices that they gave. And my dad coming out there and feeding me balls and being specific about the targets I needed to hit. And I had the motivation and the ambition to be great, so I could take just the hours of one-on-one training. I don't have regrets. I wish I could figure it out how to sustain. And that's $1 million question, right? How do you sustain a high level at that level throughout the entire year? And that's when I look at a Novak Djokovic or a Roger Federer and Nadal, and they've done it for 20 years. They don't ever, like, it's like machine-like, right? And I had a tough time sustaining that level for months at a time. And then when I wasn't sustaining that level and you're not playing as well and you start losing, how do you overcome the losses and not lose your confidence in your identity as a player in there? So I guess I wish when I was younger, and I feel like now as I'm older and now as a coach, I have better advice because I'm more experienced and I've been around longer and I've seen things. So my self-inner belief has improved tremendously since I'm 16 years old in every aspect of my life, right? From public speaking to being confident enough to start my own business to all those things, right? But at that age, trying to figure myself out and where I stood. But again, I think where my coaching comes from is I always coach in a positive manner.
In this next episode, I got to sit down with my first in-person interview for the BTB Project, Peyton Palermo. She's a survivor of 5 brain surgeries. due to a chronic brain tumor that was growing near her cerebellum. I got to work with her both on and off the tennis court. Her story was unbelievably inspirational and definitely one of the favorite listens so far in 2023. Tell me more about this passion you have to get out and fishermen waders on the water with a thousands and thousands of dollars worth of camera and just be in nature and take photos.
Yeah, that passion of mine stemmed from the same friend that introduced me to Young Life. We went out to have kind of a friend date and take pictures for fun outside, and I fell in love with everything about that experience. I fell in love with making her feel beautiful in the frame, being in the outdoors, and just realizing that this action of me taking pictures would not only make the moments last forever, but also there was so much spirit and friendship in that moment that I just wanted to do that for the rest of my life. And so I just started doing it as a hobby. I was like, let me go take pictures. Do you want to go take pictures? And then I tried to start a business in Gunnison and Crested Butte, and I did. And then I dropped out of school and moved to Texas and didn't pursue it anymore. But it's still a passion now.
Yes.
Well, not really. I would say that I have started again, but I was like, I love photography. I would love to do it, but I don't know what my niche would be. And I was like, I love the outdoors, and I found that in college. Like, I love fishing, and I just recently fell in love with hunting, and I also love people. So how does that all intertwine with also not having a college degree? And it's hunting and fishing photography. And so that's my future goal, I guess. I'm going out to Montana actually tomorrow to work on my portfolio and talk with people that would make it possible.
That's awesome. And I think that's really a neat part of your story, Peyton, is that you've been able to come across these passions at both respective levels of inspiration and not feeling like an inspiration. And that's one thing that I'll always encourage you, is that it's okay sometimes just to be, right? And when we're present in that mindset, it's amazing what opportunities come from it. So I'm really excited for that trip you're going on and what's ahead.
I do have to put, though, being in fast-moving water with a $1,000 camera is my hesitation doing this. I'm not the best on balance-wise, and so
I was going to say, what's harder, a cross-handed forehand or holding a camera in water?
I think it would be holding the camera, but we can overcome it.
Absolutely. Your endowment. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted you on today. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about your endowment and just the history behind it and what you're looking to accomplish?
Yeah. So Peyton's Hope is an endowment fund through the Children's Hospital for brain tumor research. We being my parents, co-founded it when I was 12. We had already used the name Peyton's Hope for the Brain Tumor Society walk that Denver had every year, and we always had a team for. But when the tumor came back abnormal, because my tumor was not supposed to grow back, and it was considered cancer, they asked to sign it over to brain tumor research, and I signed the piece of paper, and it was scribbles. So if anyone looks at it, I'm sorry. I knew what I was doing. But
the BTB Project has certainly had a lot of prolific guests, and coming from athletics, entrepreneurship, and really folks that just are an inspiration, not just in my life, but I know will be an inspiration for you as the listener. And today's guest is someone that I've done life with. I did life with him a whole lot growing up in the weeds of Parker, Colorado, to somehow, some way ending up to the same college, man, at the University of Northern Colorado. Go Bears. But nonetheless, I am humbled. I'm excited, and I'm tremendously blessed to have Tyler Ward on the BTB Project. Welcome, man.
Thank you, Mr. Kollman Gearhart, man. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. You're mixing me up here. We were going to go front hat, and now you're going back hat. But hey, at the same time, it's a funny thing because there's two people, Tyler, that I get confused by a lot in my life. One of those people is Ryan Reynolds, and the other person is Tyler Ward. So it's fun for me to have my own doppelganger on the podcast, man. So how do you feel about that?
Dude, I love that. You're a beautiful man, so I'm happy about that.
I'm just trying to take care of myself when I can, but nonetheless, I know that you're in the sounds of Nashville, Tennessee right now, and that's what you've made home as of recently. And I'd love for you to catch the listeners up to why Nashville and what makes it feel like home, if it's even comparable to Colorado.
Yeah, people ask me that a lot. They're like, "Where is home for you?" I'm like, "It is Nashville." Like, I go to Colorado, grew up in Colorado. I love it. Love visiting the mountains, love seeing old friends, love seeing family there. But the type of person, the way I'm wired, lives in Nashville. A lot of creative entrepreneurs, young 20-somethings who have their like hustle mentality, and then those who've made it, who are the 30s and 40s, who started it with that hustle mentality of just, it's not only a hustle, but it's like a service.
This whole BTB project and where I'm at right now, Tyler, it was birthed from a moment in time where I was assigned another mission in my life, and that was to live on the legacy of my mother. And with your dad, I was incredibly humbled to not only be there with your family to celebrate his life, but knowing the next 10 years and what excitement you have right now. What does putting on the bandana and what does living on his legacy mean to you?
I think it's when he got older and he was diagnosed with cancer, he became more of who he's ever wanted to be. And that was a sensitive, loving, kind,
Yeah.
not worried about results,
Yeah.
just wanted to be with you kind of person. And I think for me, that's all I ever wanted from him. And I didn't know how to express that until a couple years ago. And looking back as you get older, you go, man, we don't have a lot of time. We think we're going to live forever. And then you realize like love is the only important, really, truly, genuinely important thing. And I think his legacy, if I was to carry that on, is this, I mean, his dedication and his sincerity towards his, like, his faith and who it like boils down to loving other people. And I think with even the Songhouse space or my own heart and just my interactions in day, it's just one thing I did learn from him is I don't want to hide. And he hid until he was the last couple of years. And then the minute he was free of not hiding, he was an amazing human. And so living the legacy to me is, again, it's always just telling the truth regardless of consequences. And then it's just being with people.
Right.
Gosh, dang it, Kollman. I'm freaking church
man.
parking lot that I don't even know. I'm just bowling and just,
But this is what's
the mower right there is looking at me, bro.
special part about this, Tyler, is you've been able to, as you opened us up today, is you have a way to connect and to communicate with people, right? And I think it's no telling with how you have represented yourself, how you've represented your family, and where you're going moving forward. Such an awesome conversation with Tyler Ward and just the vulnerability that he expressed in our episode. And that leads to my number one streamed podcast for 2023. And that was with my mentor, Jeff Salzenstein, former top 100 player on the ATP tour, played at Stanford. He was a All-American, multiple state champion in high school. And he has such a tremendous story. And I wanted to end the podcast recap for 2023 with a dear friend of mine. And I know you're going to take a lot from this episode recap. It's a absolute privilege and honor for you to join the BTB Project today, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And who would have thought that we would get together at the Pancake House and we'd be here right now talking shop?
100%. And I think what I'm excited about is to have the listeners really see the journey that, one, we've been on individually, but two, how we've reconnected, as you've mentioned, and have ignited a mission to continue to pay it forward to help as many people as we can. I wanted to start with a little bit of a one-off to try to get your attention. So I'm going to pull up a photo of you. Can you see that photo?
I see it loud. It's clear as day.
So for the listeners, being a Colorado native, Jeff was by far one of the most motivating guys that I ever saw as a tennis player. And it really was somebody that ignited my passion and love for the game. As we know, the tour can be challenging and American tennis can have their struggles, but not too many people come out of Colorado. And so watching you do what you did was an incredible catalyst for what I was able to do as a player and as a coach. So I have a photo up right now of your 1997 match against Michael Chang at the U.S. Open. And I recall a few years back, I got to sit in your living room and watch a few cuts of this match with you. And at that time, I just graduated college and was getting into coaching, and you offered your time to me to mentor and support and teach me really everything. And I had to go back because I've watched this match about 100 times, to be honest, because it just reminds me of what can be done despite any circumstances, right? And I believe we're certainly cut from the same cloth when it comes to that. But this picture in particular, Jeff, is you're in the first set against Chang, and I saw definitely some nerves those first few games, and all of a sudden you break Michael Chang and you're up 3-2 in the first set. And in this photo, you're smiling and you're looking to what I believe is, as the announcer said, your family. And that smile that you have on your face, I know we're going to be talking about tennis today, but it tells me a lot about how much family means to you and the support that you had through your journey. So if you don't mind, why don't you tell me a little bit about this particular match and what are your thoughts when you see this photo?
Sure. Thank you for teeing it up for me, Kollman. It is a pleasure to be here and to hear your perspective on this and this match and the impact that my career and this match had on you. Let's take you into the middle of the story. And as you're looking at the picture, it's 3-2. I'm up 3-2 in the first set. I just broke serve. You're exactly right. I was filled with nerves coming out for that match. Let me set the stage. It's a second round U.S. Open match. I'm playing world number 2, Michael Chang. It's my first full year on the pro tour. My first opportunity on a big stage, a really big stage. I had played on big stages in college, but this was a whole nother kettle of fish. And I break Chang's serve. And if we fast forward another 15 minutes, I'm playing lights out tennis from about 3-2 until 5-4 in the first set. And I'm serving for the first set. It's 5-4. And I got a big serve. My serve was my weapon, which we're going to talk about how that all transpired as well today. But I'm up 5-4. I'm serving 125 mile an hour bullets against Michael Chang, who's one of the best returners in the world. And I'm dominating him. I'm literally, for those 15 or 20 minutes, once I broke serve, I'm playing better than the number 2 player in the world, legit. And I get to 5-4, I get to set point, and I'm a lefty. And as a lefty, you got to have a great wide serve in the ad court. It doesn't matter what the other guy can do. You bring your best stuff in the biggest moments. So I hit this wide slice serve, about 110 miles an hour. I come in behind it. I'm kind of a serve and volley. I serve and stay back too. I serve and volley. Chang barely gets the ball back. I hit this beautiful backhand volley to the open court. Now, my backhand volley was probably my second best shot because my dad taught me how to hit angle volleys when I was a kid. So it was almost like I was like all the reps in that one moment. And I hit this backhand angle volley that Chang couldn't reach, and I won the first set. And John McEnroe's on the call. He's announcing this match, and the crowd absolutely erupts. You've got 24,000 fans standing up. They're all pointing at me saying, "Where did this guy come from?" My brother, Eric, 17 years younger, I went to go visit, and I remember I'm 33, 34 years old, December 30th, 2007. I walk into his bedroom, And as a 17-year-old, he's a senior in high school. He's laying on the floor in the morning, sprawled out on the floor, passed out, foamy substance, white substance coming out of his mouth. And he was overtaken by a cocktail of drugs. And my brother had a serious addiction issue at 17 years old. And in that moment, you channel the thousands of tennis matches that you've played your whole life, where you have to stay focused and you can't let emotions, you have to stay focused, you have to stay on track, you have to bounce back. And that's what I did. I rushed him to the hospital. I stayed calm, stayed cool, collected. Again, it's probably one of my strengths. I stay pretty calm in the face of fire. And I made the decision in that moment, another defining moment in my life. I made the decision that my professional tennis career was over. I made the decision that I was going to help my brother. And I didn't even deliberate on it. When you knew in that moment, I borrowed $36,000 that I didn't have, put him in rehab. I moved to Alabama for 3 months to try to go visit him in Louisiana, where he was in rehab. And after a couple weeks in Alabama, I realized I was depressed. I didn't really like it there. So I called a couple friends in Colorado and called my parents, and I said, I'm a coach now. That's what I do. I teach tennis.
Yep.
So I drove home to Denver, and within 3 months, I was, parents were bringing their kids to me, and I was starting to coach. And what I realized, the greatest gift that my brother gave me through his addiction in that moment was the gift of coaching. And he forced my hand. I was having a hard time quitting pro tennis, giving up the dream. And when I made that decision because of him, there wasn't any regret. There wasn't any remorse. There wasn't any frustration on him. It was actually like, wow. In the first month of coaching, I was like, I love this. I was born to coach. I wish someone would have taught me this sooner, because I probably would have quit the pro tour a lot sooner. So I realized I loved coaching, and I took all of my knowledge, the wisdom, and I think that's what made me a decent coach at 33 years old, even though I had never coached before, because I had essentially coached myself. I had learned communication styles. I had learned what I didn't like as a player from other coaches that coach from a negative perspective. So I was always very conscious of my language and trying to distill it down and break it up into pieces and frameworks. And I think that's what the reason I played pro tennis, one of the reasons was to learn that, to be able to pass it on. As many players, great players, don't know how to communicate or help other players. And I was like, that is not going to be me.
Yep.
I will be the coach that someone can come to me and I will find an answer for them or help them find an answer. And I started coaching and I started working with all these kids, and that's how we met.
Yep.
And you came to my court and you were curious and you wanted to learn. And it's very rare to have other coaches go work with other coaches, to be open-minded, to drop the ego. And I always wondered when I moved back to Colorado, why don't more guys come pick my brain? I just was out on the tour for 11 years, seeing the best in the world, studying them, and you did. I think you all can tell, and Kollman, you can tell I'm passionate about this message, this work, being able to inspire through my story, through being authentic and real, and just help a lot of people that in this post-pandemic world, a lot of people are struggling. Mental health challenges, emotional health challenges are on the rise for various reasons. And, I like to think, Kollman, you and I are in a pretty good place with all this, so we can help people. We have a platform, we have the tools, we have the techniques. And so if I can help, I'm going to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jeff, I can't thank you enough for your time today on the BTB Project. Listeners, this is just the beginning. There's so much more content and opportunity to align to change your life, and we're all in this together. I'm proud of each and every one of you. Impossible's nothing, and I look forward to next year in 2024 and the next episodes ahead.